right? He can end up with more pairs than you at the end of the hand. You can still win the hand,
Yeah,
right? So that's what poker is to me. And so all the different varieties of the game, 7-card stud, 7-card stud, 8 or better, all those games in the 7 game, and even more than that, and tournaments and cash games and low stakes and rush poker, online poker. These are all just different forms of the game. And I think for someone to be a true poker enthusiast, and in fact, if you take your game really seriously, you need to be playing all these different games. Because, let's just say that you're completely focused and, as a player out there, and I want to become a great no limit hold'em player. Great, but you should be playing some limit hold'em. You should be playing some pot limit.
Yeah.
You maybe even should be playing some stud. And the reason for that is because every game emphasizes different skills. So, like 7-card stud, the free card is the whole game. It's all about getting free cards.
Yeah.
Making those raises on 4th Street, getting the free card, maybe getting the free card on 6th Street in like 7-card stud. And it is a game of free cards. It's a wonderful game. Free cards and no limit hold'em, they're nice. I don't think they're as important as they are on 7-card stud. Look, you get all in a lot before the free card matters.
Yeah.
But you need to know about getting free cards, and you need to be able to use that skill effectively in no limit hold'em if you want it. But if you just play no limit hold'em, maybe that's a skill you can get away with not being that good at. You can't get away with in stud. So by playing stud, you force yourself to get good at some things that maybe you wouldn't have forced yourself to get good at if you just played no limit hold'em. And then when you start playing no limit hold'em again, or you're playing stud and you're playing, it just depends on what you feel like playing that day, but you're playing both at the same time, but you're developing this other skill here as you play your stud. And you say, wait a second, these things that I'm getting good at in stud, they can help me in no limit hold'em. Maybe they're not as valuable as some of the more important things in no limit hold'em.
No, but I know what you're saying.
Like pre-flop hand strength and aggression and some of these other things that maybe actually aren't all that important in stud. But you put it all together and you become a poker player.
Yeah.
And once you become a poker player, then you can play all the games. And that's one important thing. The other important thing about playing all these other forms of the game is you may think you're going to become a world beater in no limit hold'em, but you know what? Maybe you're just like you have the potential to be the best stud player in the world.
Yeah.
But if you never play stud, you'll never find out.
No, for sure. If you're a good player, you can look at some of the best players out there. For sure, they usually have a good potential to become really good in other sorts of poker as well, right?
Yeah, what if Jeffrey Lisandro had never tried playing like sort of the stuff games?
Yeah.
Look, Jeffrey's a good no limit hold'em player. I don't like him when he's at my table, but he's not one of the best.
No.
But he is an amazing. Just all the stud games.
Yeah.
And we saw it this year at the World Series of Poker.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
what would have happened if he had never played any stud games?
Yeah, that's right.
He would just be like a pretty good online. He'd just be a pretty good no limit hold'em pro.
Yeah.
He's a great tournament player.
Yeah.
He's a great, particularly all the stud games.
Yeah. Do you think that's going to be that's going to grow? The percent of players playing other games than no limit hold'em.
Absolutely. You can see it. Look at what's happening with the 7 game on Full Tilt, and these young great players get it.
Yeah, but do you think
right?
I think it's a really important thing that one has to remember that this is, even if it's a matter of money many times, it's also a social thing, but also you want to have variance. You want to do other things instead of just playing the same game. Isn't that a big thing out of it?
It's more interesting to play 7 games than it is to play 1 game.
Yeah,
and it's more challenging. It's going to force you to develop as a player, but also there is a general trend. I have seen it everywhere, and this is before the online board. No limit hold'em tends to be the first game.
Yeah.
It was the first game we were all playing in New York, and then it turned into limit hold'em, and then it turned into mixed games. There's a natural progression. The no limit hold'em is the really exciting. It's the game that captures everyone's attention. It's what gets them into poker. But what happens is no limit hold'em is such a skillful game, particularly in the cash game version, that the weak players, they get chopped up. They just can't win.
Mm.
And at some point, they stop wanting to play no limit hold'em, and they start realizing, I got more of a chance than limit hold'em.
Mm.
And then limit hold'em turns into, boy, I have a lot of fun playing all these other games, and and then of course also, and this was the progression in New York. It's not just that the weaker players were sort of moving us toward those other games, but we wanted to expand our horizons. We were finding it fun to play mixed games too.
Yeah.
And so I think I've seen that natural progression in a lot of places. And I think it's going to happen here. So there was this huge boom. And certainly the fact that No Limit Hold'em is the exciting thing that happens on TV. And it is the form of poker that belongs on TV.
Yeah.
I'm not a big believer that we should be trying to show 7-game on TV.
No.
It's just not going to work. So No Limit Hold'em has more legs, I think, than it's had in other settings because of that. It's always going to be driven by the TV. But at the end of the day, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, there's going to be a lot less No Limit Hold'em played, and a lot more of these mixed games and like limit games. And so if you're a young pro, you might as well start learning these other games, because if you want to be making money at the game and making a living, you're going to have to become a poker player, not just a No Limit Hold'em player.
That's right. Well, we have some pretty cool examples of players that apart from Jeff Lissandro this summer, Phil Ivey, for example. How many No Limit Hold'em bracelets did he win? I'm not sure. I don't want to go out there. I think it's 0. I didn't check on that, but I think he won 7 bracelets, and none of them were No Limit Hold'em. Mm-hmm. Still, you made a bet with him recently of winning some bracelets. Is that right?
Yes, and I've heard it's been misreported in the media. I think Phil Ivey would be insane to bet that he could, completely insane, to bet that he could win 2 bracelets in 2 years. That doesn't say he couldn't do it. He won 2 last year.
Yeah.
But for someone to be a favorite to win 2 bracelets in 2 years, I think they have to be, 70% each year. Out of some very high percentage win a bracelet, and nobody is that big of a favorite. The bet is, he needs to win 2 bracelets in 3 years.
In 3 years? Okay.
Yeah. And, I'm not exactly sure of the number. I think he needs to be about 42%, somewhere around there each year.
Well, was it even money?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big bet for you, but you're happy with that bet?
I think I'm happy with that bet.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to win a bracelet.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people in these tournaments, and I mean, I can tell you a lot of people have talked to me about the bet, and we made the bet actually toward the end of last year's World Series. It's been around. I don't know why all of a sudden people found out about it. It's not like we were keeping it a secret, but a lot of people have come up to me and they said, "Boy, I like your side of the bet, but you're going to lose."
That's a contradiction.
Yeah, but I think that's what a lot of people think. I think they like my bet. I think they see that it's probably the right math bet. Mm-hmm. But Phil Ivey has this mystique.
Yeah,
he can do no wrong, right?
Do you think these bets? I mean, look at Lindgren and Negreanu's bet against Barry and Jeff this summer. Who would win the most points? I mean,
by the way, that was Lindgren. That was Lindgren and Negreanu against Barry.
Yeah,
and you talked to Barry about that bet, and he was like, "Guys, I didn't know who to bet."
Yeah, I know. I told you.
I'll go with Lissandro. I'll just go with the guys.
Like looking around and see, well, there's a guy. Oh, he's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Good pick.
Yeah,
that was a good pick. But they said they're going to keep on doing it. Do you think they're going to do it again, this bet? I think they said last year, Negreanu said they will go for it again, even against Barry and Jeff.
I would imagine. I don't think that they think they have the worst of that bet.
No.
Look, I mean, that's the whole point. Just because a guy wins 3 bracelets.
Yeah.
He's a great player.
For sure.
But if 5 years from now he hasn't won any more bracelets, it wouldn't be a big surprise.
No.
He had an amazing year. He deserved his 3 bracelets, but he got lucky.
Yeah. Very lucky. Very lucky.
You know, and they know he got lucky.
Yeah.
And they're look. I mean, Daniel and